This is part 3 of our presentation on managing human factors and quality management systems. Welcome back. Preconditions are a set of substandard conditions and practices that lead to the failure. These are grouped into two main categories: substandard conditions of operators and substandard practices of operators. In substandard conditions of operators, these are grouped into three main types: adverse mental state, which could include sleep deprivation, drowsiness, overconfidence, complacency, and something called task fixation, in which someone is so fixated on the task they lose track of the system. There are probably others. Then there's an adverse psychological state, which is mental illness or extreme fatigue or anger or any of a dozen negative psychological states which might be a source of failure. And finally, there's a physical or mental limitation that keeps someone from doing a job properly. This might be an inappropriate positioning of a person on a job, and it might be dexterity or physical strength related, concentration, reaction time, or any of a dozen things which are a physical factor that's a contributing factor to the failure. Language barrier might also fall into this, where there's a lack of ability to understand or carry out an operation on the basis of language. The other types of preconditions are known as substandard practices of operators, and of these there are two types: crew resource management and personal readiness. In the first type, crew resource management, we're talking about people not working as a team, poor team coordination, improper briefing, or improper coordination of resources or materials. This is your Kaizen situation, which is the department or organization or job is set up in an inefficient way, or there's ineffective planning and communication. In personal readiness, we're talking about things that actually affect the ability of the worker to perform the job without failure, such as rest requirements, self-medication, poor dietary practices, and overexertion while off duty, which is that an otherwise fit employee can't do his or her job properly for some overriding factor. My favorite story on this is that I used to work in a place in Dallas, and we typically had a lot of quality problems on El 6 de Mayo, which is the day after El Cinco de Mayo. So going back to our real-world example, we've already established that there was a failure. We believe it was a skill-based operator error, and now we ask, why did that happen? The two options here are substandard conditions of the operators and substandard practices of the operators. Substandard conditions of the operators, were the operators impaired in some way by mental illness or fatigue or complacency or overconfidence or task fixation? Well, I think in this case that's probable. The operators got busy, they were fixated on the task, and they didn't pay attention to the scales not being level. Are there potential crew resource management issues? Poor team coordination, improper briefing, not working as a team, and that kind of thing. That might also be a factor. So there was task fixation and potential work coordination issues. So why did those things happen? So now it really gets interesting, because when we come back, we'll have to start asking questions about the supervision.